When we look at who scores advanced on state tests in elementary school, who qualifies for gifted and talented services, who takes advanced classes in middle and high school, and who scores well on AP test scores and college entrance exam scores, we see significant demographic differences between students based on racial, cultural, and income groups. These differences are called excellence gaps. We need for students to score at advanced levels, but not many students are doing that, and there are extremely small numbers scoring at advanced levels from these different demographic groups. Finding these students with high potential requires non-traditional measures such as response lessons, universal screening, and the use of local and group-specific norms. Response lessons were designed through Project Spark at the University of Connecticut to elicit behaviors indicative of talent in students. These lessons have been utilized in the Young Scholars Program in Fairfax County, Virginia, and in Project RAP, Reaching Academic Potential in Jefferson County, Kentucky. In Project RAP, trained teachers deliver whole group response lessons to students in primary grades. The teacher records observations of potential in all students, including those from underrepresented populations.
There's one that we've used, it's called The Marvelous Toy, and it's all about Dad bringing home a toy, and this toy, it just takes on all kinds of characteristics. So you read this story to the children, and then you give them the open-ended response of, okay, if you could choose any toy, what would it look like? What could it do? Even in a fictional world, what could that toy possibly do? And to watch the children then go and put together these crazy ideas on paper of these, and they're so proud, and it's so intricate, and it's just really cool to see what they're able to do.
The Gifted Behaviors Rating Scale, also developed through Project Spark, can be used to analyze the response lessons. It has 4 categories: exceptional ability to learn, exceptional application of knowledge, exceptional creative, productive thinking, exceptional motivation to succeed. Classroom observations, work samples, anecdotal records, and standardized test data, including nonverbal assessments, can be used to complete the Gifted Behaviors Rating Scale to determine which students need additional challenge. Universal screening is another way to locate underrepresented learners. Schools use achievement and ability tests they already have differently.
If you're going to give a test, every student takes that test. If there's going to be teacher recommendations, that you get data from teachers on every single student. It truly means to screen universally. And this is really important because we find that equally talented poor and not poor students, the odds are much greater that the not poor student will be nominated to be screened.
Using local norms is another approach that can be used to find high potential students from different demographic groups. Using local norms means students are compared with other students from their local educational setting, ideally using assessments that are universally administered to an entire grade level. The Gifted Regulation states that either national or local norms must be used by a district to identify a student for gifted services.
When we examine students' test scores relative to how other students perform, many places start with a national norm. So there's a test and it has a sample that's been gathered, and there are national norms on scores that go from 0 to the 99th percentile. We can take those national norms and, using local data, create local norms, and there are stages of that. You can have a local district norm, which takes all of the students in the district who were measured and creates a local norm, and the test publishers can do this for you. Then from the local district norm, you might look at a local building norm. So in some districts, you might have schools that are in different communities. Some communities are higher income, some communities may have more ethnic diversity. And to use the district norm to compare student scores across the entire district would not be fair because the schools are disparate. So you can go from a local norm, a local district norm, to a school norm. And then from the school norm, you can go to a local group norm. So if you have a school, for example, that has 60% of the children who eat or qualify for free and reduced federal meals, you would have a local group norm of your lower income kids, and you would have a local norm of the kids who are not lower income. And in doing so, it allows you to create a representative proportional sample for whatever services you're identifying for. People will ask why it's important to identify and serve kids from underserved groups. Why can't they just meet the same standard as everybody else? A student with a test score in the 70 to 75th percentile from a low-income family, that test score is equivalent to a non-low-income family's student score of 90 to 95th percentile. And over time, if we have students who are underserved and we don't develop their talent and meet their needs, they begin to lose ground and they end up looking average, and then we've pretty much lost their talent. And I don't think it's defensible, it hasn't been ever, but especially in this day and age, to say, well, the test is accurate and it just doesn't yield enough brown children, so we're just going to go with that.
Using response lessons, universal screening, and local norms, a school can identify students whose high potential probably would not have shown up using traditional measures, and then devote resources to develop their potential. Kentucky regulations regarding identification are very specific and, if not implemented fully, may actually increase excellence gaps. Special considerations may be made and should be made with underserved populations when identifying students for gifted and talented services in Kentucky. School personnel shall take into consideration environment, cultural, and disabling conditions which may mask a child's true abilities. Special considerations may allow students who do not qualify using formal assessment measures to be identified as gifted and talented. These students typically exhibit gifted and talented behaviors, characteristics, but fail to score at or above the 96th percentile on a state-recognized assessment due to environmental, cultural, and disabling conditions which may mask their true abilities. This provision in the statute allows districts, schools, an opportunity to view the whole child using external characteristics, classroom observations, recommendations, and additional data, such as the measures mentioned earlier in this video, in place of the 96th percentile score. If proactive effort is put toward identifying underrepresented groups, then excellence gaps can be reduced, especially in the early grades before they grow too large. If as much attention is paid to closing early excellence gaps as is paid to remedial achievement gaps, then gaps in AP test scores, college attendance, and college completion will be smaller. More importantly, many more low-income and racial ethnic minority children will achieve their dreams, and Kentucky's future will be brighter for all of us.